so herself, even if she had had to down tools and come out to Dordogne in person to do so. And yet, thought Amelia, very puzzled, it was only her stepmother Phoebe who had the telephone number of their holiday cottage near Montpazier. "Is that Miss Kennerley?" Todd Morton had asked. "Yes," said Amelia cautiously. "Dr. Plantin told me how to get in touch with you." Amelia had been even more reassured. Come hell or high water, Phoebe Plantin would never have delegated the breaking of really bad news to anyone else, but least of all to an unknown undertaker telephoning from another country. That, at least, confirmed her view that nothing terrible had happened to her father. "What about?" she had said then to Todd Morton. He could hardly be ringing about her own mother's grave. Nothing urgent happened to graves already 12 years old. She realized at once that her question must have sounded inept and ungrammatical, and she had amended it before the voice at the other end could answer. Ironically, 2 weeks spent concentrating on the French language had already done something for her English. "Has somebody died?" "Mrs. Octavia Garamond of the Grange, great primer." "My great-aunt?" Amelia knitted her brow. I think that's who she is." "Yes, miss. That's what Dr. Phoebe said." So her stepmother was Dr. Phoebe to Todd Morton, as she was to half the population of the market town of Beerbury. "I'm afraid, miss," he went on, "that she died last night." "Well," said Amelia, "she was very old. She must have been." Mrs. Octavia Garamond had been one of her dead mother's aunts, or, to be more precise, the widow of her late mother's Uncle William. "Yes, miss," said Todd Morton. "So I understand. It's very kind of you to have rung me." Amelia cast about in her mind for what to say next, and asked, "When is the funeral to be?" Her father, she decided, must be off on one of his famous field trips. If he had been at home in Cailshire, he would undoubtedly have dealt with the matter himself, and perhaps even gone out into the country to the village of Great Primer for the funeral, snatching time from his desk, of course, with the greatest reluctance. After all, her father probably even remembered Great-Aunt Octavia from the old days when he and she had both been members of the extended Garamond family. It would have been easier for him, anyway. Her father was an anthropologist and a great authority on extended families. "That's really for you to say, miss," replied the voice at the other end of the telephone. "Me?" Amelia very nearly said, "What am I to Hecuba that I should weep for her?" But she didn't. This was no time for William Shakespeare and the Prince of Denmark. She said instead, rather lamely, "Why me?" "I understand," said Todd Morton, clearing his throat, "from the late Mrs. Garamond's solicitors, Messrs. Puckle, Puckle and Nunnery, that you are her executrix." Amelia Kennerley very nearly said, "Me?" again from sheer surprise. She swallowed rapidly and said, "Me and who else?" instead, sounding, if she had known it, rather like the comedian Rob Wilton in his famous sketch about having to win the war single-handed. "Sole executrix," said the voice at the other end of the continental telephone. "What? Oh, I'm sorry." Amelia apologized automatically, her mind in a total whirl. She thought she could just remember having seen her great-aunt. Only just, though. It must have been when she had been a very little girl indeed, but it was true that she could conjure up in her mind's eye an unfocused picture of a strange house where she had held on to her mother's hand rather tightly while an unknown old lady — when you are small, all grown-ups are old — spoke to her. Amelia pulled herself together and said, "I mean, did she leave any instructions about her funeral?" She knew that people did this because her own mother had apparently said long before she died that she wanted to be buried by the bell tower at Almston. She'd always liked the sound of church bells. "I understand from Mr. Puckle, that's Mr. James Puckle, young Mr. James, that is, not his uncle or grandfather, that Mrs. Garamond had indicated in her testamentary dispositions a wish for burial." Amelia's mind had gone off at a complete